Josh, you just experienced the dreaded nightmare of a funeral director, the walk-in family. You don't hear that too often nowadays. Josh, walk me through what happened with the family, and did you give them some status,
Yeah,
some hard time for walking in without calling first?
not too often do I see it now. More
No.
so, I saw it more so with the firm I was at prior to here.
Yeah.
That firm had a little bit more of a higher call volume. So you kind of just have to wing it in a way. The family comes in, they don't call. You show up unexpected, so you're doing one thing, and then next thing you know, the doorbell's going off. Someone's coming in, and you have to sit down and make an arrangement. So
Yeah.
it's just you just kind of have to handle it just like any other arrangement. Yeah, take it a step at a time, and be there for the family. And you never want to ask, "Hey, why didn't you call?" You
As
can't
much as
really
we
do
want
that.
to.
Yeah, yeah. But with that being said, you see more often now. A lot of the phone calls we get, people think we're at the funeral home 24/7,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that's not really the case. I don't think that's the case as much anymore.
No.
Especially if you're not an intern or you're not a student, people aren't always at the funeral home. So
No.
it's nice to get a kind of a call, a heads up, but that's not always the case. So you gotta just have to go with it and handle it just like any other arrangement.
It's the day in the life of the funeral director. Every day is different. Everything is always, you got to keep on your toes, if you will, because at a moment's notice, things could change, flip on your head immediately, and that's what this industry is. And anyone that's done it for a little bit of time knows that your day can look smooth as silk going into it, and then by 5 o'clock, you could be like, "My God, I can't take this anymore." So it's
Yeah,
one of those industries you got to be able to flow.
yeah, absolutely. It just like you said, things could be slow, and as any funeral director knows, there's those points in the year, certain time of the year, things are slow, and you're looking for things to do. You're looking to catch up on paperwork or
There is always stuff.
maintenance things around the funeral home, and then in a
Yep.
second, you could have three, four, five calls just like that.
Yep.
I think that's one of the things that I love about the industry is that you come into work every day, and every family has a different story, different background, different
Yeah.
situation. I've been in funeral service going on a total of 8 years, and
We're
just when
right
you
around
think,
the same. Yeah.
yeah, just when you
Mhm.
think that you've seen it all, you get hit with something new.
Yeah.
You have to adjust. It's a learning experience. You still learn every single day. So yeah, it's just keeps you on your toes, and just
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. It really is one of those things where you learn to expect the unexpected every single day,
absolutely.
and be willing to be good with that. And that's the only way to do it. What happened today then? What was this family all about? Give
So
us the
today
rundown. What
we
did they
just
want? Give us the deets.
we were just finishing up. We were at so the funeral home I work for. The owner actually owns two other funeral homes. So we were at
Nice.
another funeral home, finishing up a service, and then we came to our kind of like our headquarters, I guess you could
Sure.
call it, the funeral home where we do all of our prep work and
Prep hub and all that, right? Home base, sure.
right, right. And we were just coming back to catch up on things. We're actually getting a lady ready for a visitation Thursday. Doorbell goes off, and it's just a situation where a gentleman's wife passed away at a hospital,
Yeah.
and he lives in the area within walking distance, and he just said, I figured I'd walk in. And this gentleman and the owner, they have a relationship. They know each other, so they're pretty close.
Ah,
So we see a lot of that.
interesting. Okay.
We see a lot
Yeah.
of, we serve a lot of the same families, people
Sure.
who have been lifelong, residents of the neighborhood. They kind of, you get that relationship, you have that relationship where you can just walk into the funeral home, sit down,
Right.
talk, make a
Yeah.
prearrangement. So, you know, in this case, it was somebody that we knew, and
Mhm.
we just sat down and just had a conversation. A lot of these families we serve, people think the funeral arrangement, not all the time are they so heavy and sad. a lot of
No,
times
not
you
always.
serve
No.
these same families, you serve people that you know, and it's just like a conversation. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
it's no different than going out to eat or, sitting down and getting a drink with someone. It's just like a casual, conversation.
Right.
And that kind
And
of,
yeah, that's the best way to do it.
makes things a little bit easier for everybody. But, like I said, the firm I worked at prior, call volume was a little higher. So you would see new faces. You serve different families.
Sure.
And, if you'd get a walk in on a family you don't know much about, then you just have to start from square one.
Right. Yeah.
So
And you
it's
have to
just
establish the rapport and everything. Yeah, it's
absolutely
very different going from those different from a high volume place to a place where you're seeing similar people repeatedly. That's a
right.
big difference in the way you're approaching each arrangements.
Right. Yeah. It just,
Familiarity.
and the one thing I think I wanted to definitely talk about is our profession is one of the few that, we don't get a second chance to make things right. We don't
Yeah.
get, if you compare it to a football player, a quarterback, they get multiple chances to complete a pass. Hockey
Hmm.
players, they get multiple chances to score a goal.
Yep.
Different professions, you can come in and correct your work, or you come in the next day, start over. Funeral
Yep.
directors, we have to be on our A game 24/7 every single day.
Always.
There's
Always.
there's no, second chance at sitting down and meeting with the family and planning a
No.
funeral. It's just it could be a lot. It's one of those professions where you have to be on your A game from the very beginning until the very end. And
Yeah,
I think it keeps us grounded. Yeah, we
it
see a lot.
does.
We see a lot of things. We see a lot of different scenarios and families that walk through our doors. And with every
Yeah.
family, you have to treat it as if they're your own. And
Yep.
it just, like you said earlier, establish that rapport. You know,
Yeah.
you have to be there for the families, and it is one of the things that I love about the job. It can be high stress. It can be,
Yep.
draining mentally, physically, emotionally, but
You name it.
you got to be on your A game at all times.
There can be an immense amount of pressure some days being able not to make a mistake. You're always have to be like on that A game, and that
Hmm.
adds up over time. But you do sort of get used to it in a
Yes.
weird way, like having to must be perfect,
Right.
which is a weird way to think of it. And it can make us become perfectionists, even for people that weren't prior to. When you're a funeral director, you have to sort of be, because that mistake, that's their loved one, and
Right.
that's their last goodbye, and it means everything to them. So there's
Hmm.
no errors allowed ever,
Right.
ever.
And that mistake, you serve one family, you make that mistake, that family can go to an extended relative, a friend, and say, "Hey, I met with Josh at such and such, and he didn't pay attention to detail. He didn't follow up. He made errors and obituary, or little things like that go a long way.
Yeah,
And you could look at it on the other end too. If you do your job, you do it well. You pay attention, and you have an eye for detail. A little goes a
yeah,
long way, and
yeah,
those families remember it, and
yeah.
they could spread the word in a good way too. And you could, that could bring you new
Exactly.
families and keep that rapport with the family you serve. And you'll see them
Yeah,
along down the line, and a little can go a long way. But yeah,
it
high
does.
pressure, but I like it. Like you said, it keeps you on
Yeah,
your toes, and even in other aspects of life, you take that stuff home
for
and
sure.
pay attention to detail, and you want to get things done. A
Yeah.
lot of funeral directors, one of the traits we have is being very well organized. Um, and we
Some
can
of
take
us.
that. Some of us, yeah. I've worked with some that, complete opposite, but to each
Yeah,
their own.
that would be me some days. I can't deny it.
I gotta say, I think I do an okay job. I really do, and it's
Yeah,
just it's repetition. Like you said, it's something we get used to in a weird way, but um,
yeah,
I love it. I really do.
yeah. I like what you said about that too, is that those little things can go one way or the other. It's either going to help your business big time and spread the
Hmm.
word, or it's going to hurt you a lot. So those little details matter because the word of mouth is a big deal, and
Absolutely.
just spreading from one person to another, it does do a lot to either help or harm your business on that side of things.
Hmm.
What is it like having three funeral homes and that you're working with, and what are the differences between the three? Are they all over the place, or are they kind of similar in some respects?
So our headquarters, where we kind of
Mhm.
report to every day, it's in a neighborhood in the city of Pittsburgh. We serve a lot of Italian Catholic, Irish
Mhm.
Catholic families.
Sure.
And then the other funeral home where we had the service today is about 2.5, 3 miles away.
Not
Serves
too
a different,
far. Okay.
not far at all. Serves a different clientele. Um, you see more kind of German families. You see Polish
Yeah.
families. Our
Mhm.
cremation rate is up a little bit more down at the other funeral home. And then
Yeah.
the third funeral home, which we just acquired this year, it's in a higher end neighborhood. It's actually about 20 minutes away. It's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah.
Don't see the amount of call volume that we see here kind of at our home base, but the families we serve there,
Right.
a little bit higher end. Um,
Sure.
but it's good because all three funeral homes kind of serve a different clientele. So you get a taste, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And you kind of know what to expect going into a call with each family. Um,
Definitely.
but as far as traditional funeral services, we see more here. We
Mhm.
see them in all three places, but cremation is kind of 50-50 among all three.
Yep. Yeah. That seems, I mean, as far as like US averages, it seems like you're sort of in the mix in that. And
Yeah,
that's got to be good too, that every day you're dealing with different, clientele,
right.
keeps you a well-rounded funeral director.
Hmm.
And for your third location, it was just acquired by you guys. So you're just getting started, and you have to
Right.
have time to
And
build that business up.
that third firm, it's been in business a long time. It was just the gentleman that was currently there. He's been in funeral service for over 40-45 years, and
Wow.
he finally, he put in his time, and he just
No
said,
kidding.
I'm ready to take a step back, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't want anyone else but us to take over this
Wow.
firm. You guys would be a
Wow.
great fit, and he had a good relationship with my current boss, and
Sure.
a little bit different than what we're used to, but it was a great acquisition. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I think I told you before that it's only myself, another
Yep.
director, and her dad. So there's only three licensed directors that take care of all three funeral homes.
Yeah.
So
That's tough.
it's
One
enough to
per
keep us
firm is
busy.
not easy.
Yeah,
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 that
it's enough to
sure
keep
is.
us busy. But we work well together. We cover each other. We work together. We're a good team, and
That's what it's all about.
yeah, it really is. It
Yeah.
makes a huge difference that you
Mhm.
like the people you work with, you enjoy the environment, and coming to work every day doing what you love. It really does make
Mhm.
a difference. I know it's very
Yeah.
cliche, and people say, if you enjoy your job, you never have to work a day in your life. And
Yeah.
I, I don't know if it works too much for funeral service, because if you love it
Yeah.
or not, you're
Uh,
still going to be overworked. You're still going to
yeah, it
see
doesn't
those
really
days.
matter.
Yeah, but it
We all go through it, right?
yeah, and I think one thing about this profession, people don't realize how rewarding it is, and that's
Absolutely.
a huge question I get a lot. Why do you do it?
Why?
You know,
Why?
if the
Yeah.
hours are long and you're on call, and you miss holidays and birthdays and family events, why do you do it? And it's just
Yeah.
because, first of all, that's the name of the game. That's part of the job. But
That's what we
it's
signed up for, right?
it's exactly
Mhm.
right. That's what we signed up for, but it's so rewarding at the end of the day, or at the end of a service, and a family comes up to you and they say, you have been such a great help, or mom or dad, they looked amazing, they haven't looked that good in years, and you
The
know
best.
you know over a 7-8 year period, I kind of have like a stack of thank you cards and handwritten notes and stuff, just thanking me, and that's the kind of things that makes it worth it.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it
you
sure
can agree
does.
with that.
Yeah.
Um, it takes a lot to do what we do. Again,
Hmm.
it could be very stressful. There's those time of years where business is a little overwhelming, and
Yeah.
you feel like you're never going to catch up. But at the end of the day, you know, those families giving you a pat on the back and saying thank you, uh,
Yeah.
it really does. It makes it all worth it. It really does.
It does. That's definitely why we do it.
Yeah,
And those words go a long way, and we just need a little bit.
that's all we need.
Sometimes on the hard days, just sometimes you need it.
No.
We do a lot of Google reviews for families for our marketing business, and
Okay.
I'll tell you, when a funeral home or a funeral director gets one specifically like about them, like about the job that they did as a funeral director, like that will make your day, especially because they're portraying it to the public, and like they they're confident in they loved clearly so much as to go to that extent to help them out and showcase what they did. And I think that's why we do it, is because we we value the opinions of other people, and we value helping people in the toughest of times. And not every family is going to want to do that, or they're not going to give you that pat on the back, but when you do get one, it's all the more special, and it makes all the challenges worthwhile, is getting that, because there are very few other professions really that you're getting that one-on-one connection with a family member, especially in a challenging time or a big period in their life. There are not that many other professions where you're going to get that thank you for what you've done, or thank you for the service, or for the way you made mom look, or whatever it might
Hmm.
be. You don't really get that so much, and that's what makes our industry so beautiful. I did want to touch on something else, like about you guys acquiring that other funeral home, is
Hmm.
what a testament to the work that you do, and then to the owner and his daughter, saying that they would want no one else to take over, because if he's doing it for 40 or 45 years, like that is his life, that's his
Right.
legacy. And I know for a fact that for anyone, and especially funeral directors, that is not an easy thing to give up. And you don't, when you spend that whole career doing that, that is hard. And you see there's a lot of transitioning happening, a lot of older funeral directors, and like what's the future going to look like. And
Hmm.
what a cool thing for you guys to get to do, is to carry on his legacy, and hopefully even to expand on it. That's a great thing. And what a nice piece of confidence and words that they gave you for going and
Yeah,
acquiring that too.
it's it's a huge compliment because, like you said,
Yeah.
especially in the Pittsburgh area, when we were in mortuary school, there was some crazy statistic, and I don't have the exact numbers, but Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania alone, there are so many
Yeah.
funeral homes, you know, per square mile in and around the city. I
Yeah.
think it was over 150 or 200 some funeral homes.
I believe
It's
it.
not uncommon to drive down the street and see funeral homes across from each other, three or four funeral
Yeah.
homes on the same street. And
Yep.
these, the older generation of directors who have been doing it for 40, 50 years, they're not just
Mm-hmm.
going to hand over their family name, their business,
Mm-mm.
their life to just
No.
anybody. So,
No.
to be able to trust myself, who, I'm only 31, my partner,
Mm-hmm.
she's only 30, to
Mm-hmm.
kind of, pass the torch to these two young kids who have been in the business for 7, 8 years. It's a
Right.
huge compliment, you know,
Yeah.
to say,
It
I'm
sure is.
comfortable with, making this arrangement to where you guys kind of take things over. It's a
Right.
huge compliment. It really is.
It
And
sure is.
so far, everything's working out. It really is. And we're meeting
That's
new people.
fantastic.
We're seeing, new faces. We're becoming involved in a new community,
Yeah.
getting our name out there, and it's really working in our favor. So,
Absolutely. And when you do good work and you showcase that good work, that's the way. And people will
mhm.
see it. Every single person that walks in your door, like that's someone that is going to see the dedication and the work that you do put in. And it is evident. Like you can see it, you can feel it. It's something that people know. That's the cool part about what we do too.
Yeah. And another point is how I said between the three funeral homes, you kind of serve three different
Yeah.
clienteles, but
Yep.
whether it's a family that comes in and they choose a simple direct cremation,
Hmm.
or a family that, goes all out for their loved one and, gets an expensive casket and,
Sure.
gets an expensive vault and, they kind of do the works. Whether you're serving that family who does, simple cremation, something,
Sure.
not as extravagant compared to the family that does something a little, higher end,
A little
you have
more.
to
Yep.
treat them the same exact way. You
Without a
can't
doubt.
treat you can't treat one family, go above and beyond for a family because, they're going to spending more money
Yeah.
compared to a family, finances, and, some funerals aren't cheap, and you serve a
No.
clientele, where they go through financial hardships. But at the end of the day, you
Hmm.
still have to treat every family the same, with the same amount of respect, with the have the same amount of attention to detail for certain things. And,
Yep.
people pick up on that, and people will talk.
Absolutely.
Word of mouth will get out, you know,
Yeah.
Josh and his partners in his firm, we didn't have much to work with, but they went above and beyond. And it just,
Absolutely.
you just got to stay consistent in this line of work. You have to stay
Yeah.
consistent. You have to stay driven, and you have to remember that, you know, when you get that phone call where you sit down and meet with that family, it's no longer about you. You know, these
Correct.
families don't, they don't want to hear if you had a long night, if you were out on 2, 3
No.
calls in the middle of the night, or, you know,
No.
I'm a new dad. My son just turned 4 months old. They don't care
Congrats.
if he didn't get any sleep, and, you're running on 1 hour of sleep. All that you got to leave that at the door, and you got to take care of what's in front of you.
Yes,
So,
you do.
yeah,
Yes, you
it's
do.
just,
Wow, you must be really running on no sleep then between being a funeral director and a 4-month-old. My God.
I have never drank so much coffee and caffeine in my entire life. I can't complain too much though. He's a very good baby, but early on, the early month, first couple weeks, 2 months, it was rough. But it
Yeah,
again, something to appreciate.
it
Unfortunately, we
sure
deal with
is.
families who, go through the tragedy of losing a child, or,
Yeah,
losing someone young, or someone close
yeah,
to them, and then you get to go home, and that kind of makes you appreciate what you have.
yeah,
Um,
it
and
does.
it just, a lot of different ways to look at it, but this
Yeah,
job did kind of make me appreciate my family, and, and the love and support that I have. At this point in the game, I think, family and friends, they know how things go. So I have a great support system in that, and that kind of makes things a little bit easier
yeah.
too.
It gives you such a different perspective on life when you're dealing with stuff like that on a
Hmm.
day-to-day basis. It is not easy. And I myself am very involved with a nonprofit that does funerals and cremations for families that have lost, a child and a baby. And it's the probably one of the worst parts of our job. There's many parts that are really, really hard, but that
Yeah,
one is just not fair.
it,
And
it,
we all feel that. We all see it too much. And man, it does give you that outlook like, man, today I'm really blessed. I'm really
yeah,
lucky just to be able
yeah,
to be here. And it makes you enjoy life a little bit more. And it makes you hopefully complain a little bit less about the tough
mm,
stuff and the late nights that we do have sometimes too.
yeah, absolutely. I just, we just recently took care of a family in a similar situation, and,
Yeah.
one of my real good friends said, just randomly text me out of the blue and just said, how do you not take home your job? The stuff that you see.
Hard.
And, I had to think about it for a minute.
Yep.
Even though I've been doing it, 7, 8 years, I've seen a lot of things. There are certain times you kind of don't have a choice. You kind of can't help but take it home with you. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
it's tough. It really is. But I think funeral directors do a good job of separating life and work. Yeah, it's a roller
There's no other
coaster.
way to do it.
Nope.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. You can't. You can't let it stick with you because you drive yourself crazy.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, and that's why it's good that you have such a good relationship with your coworkers too. I
Mhm.
think that makes a lot of differences having those people to lean on a day to day basis in case someone's having a tough day. You know, the other ones can pick up the slack. That's why the relationships and the atmosphere that you create as a business in funeral service, it could rival the best of businesses because it's imperative. It's essential.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Let's hear a story or two. You've been doing this for 8 years now. I'm sure you've got some
Oh
fun
man.
stories, whether it's removals in the prep room with the family.
Yeah.
Give us one of your stories, or give me two of them. How about
Let
it?
me let me I mean we've been through a lot, seen a lot of things.
Yeah,
Um let me if you don't mind, Mike, I'll backtrack real quick and just kind of try to quickly summarize how I got into it. So
sure. Yeah,
I
let's go. Let's hear it.
I actually funeral service was not my first career choice.
Okay.
It was actually a plan B for me. It was just something growing up as a kid always interested me. It's something I always had
Yeah.
a curiosity about.
Hmm.
Always curious about what happened behind the scenes. And, you know, from the time I was 7 or 8, until I started mortuary school, unfortunately, I've been to a ton of funerals, family members, friends,
Yeah.
family members of friends. So I was around it a lot. I have
Yeah.
no family in funeral service, none. I'm the
Mhm.
first of my
There's
family.
Jen.
Yeah, first gen. So I was around it a lot, but law enforcement was always my number one. I have an
Mhm.
uncle who's a police officer. He has been for over 15 years.
Very
My
nice.
grandfather was a city of Pittsburgh police officer for over 30. So I was, dead set on being in law enforcement. I always wanted
Hmm.
to be a homicide detective. And
Oh wow, cool.
yeah, so long story short, I got my undergrad. I served an internship at the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's office, which kind of transitioned me into, working with funeral directors, but I also worked with
That's
police
it.
officers. So, I saw both professions and I was kind of, at a crossroad, which one do I want to go to? And
Right.
I ended up doing both. I went to the police academy, a part-time police academy, while I was going to mortuary school at the same time. That was
That's a
tough.
hard combo.
It was
That is a hard combo right
very
there.
tough. Both programs were a year. It worked out. I ended up getting a part-time police job and a internship position at the firm I worked at prior to here. Did them both for about 6 months. And it got to the point where my days off from the funeral home, which I didn't have many, but I would police on those days off. I was
Oh
working
man.
maybe 15, 16 days in a row, sometimes
Yeah.
24, 30 hours in a row.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
26, 27 at the time. So, I was
No
young.
way.
I had the energy, but I burn out quick. So I took a step back from
Yeah.
the police work and just
Yeah.
fully invested myself in funeral service. And it's
What made you pick between the two? What was it that drove you one way or the other?
I think it was more so, once you graduate mortuary school, you have to finish your internship. You have to meet so many requirements.
Yeah.
And, I thought to myself, I need to focus on one of these things. I need to take care of what I need
Right.
to in order to become licensed. If I ever wanted to go back into police work, I could. But
Yeah.
I started to lean more towards funeral service the more I was
Hmm.
around it. I
Yeah.
started to get in the prep room and get more comfortable in there. I started to make
Mhm.
arrangements. I started to just learn all the aspects of funeral service and I became much more comfortable with it. And it
Yeah.
started to feel like more of a natural fit for me.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but
That'll
that
do it.
day, that day that I had to resign from the police department was probably one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. Um,
I
you
can
know,
only imagine.
you go
Yeah.
your whole life and you have this plan and you put all this time and work, you know, into school and
Yeah.
education and the academy, and then it's like here I am, you know,
Mm-mm.
and now I got to put it all behind me. And it was tough, but I'm glad
Yeah.
I made the decision. I'm happy where I am, and I think I made the right decision. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
so
think you did too. It seems like you have that calling.
yeah,
It's funny. You can make all the plans you want, but life will tell you, "Hey, that doesn't that doesn't matter. We're
yeah,
we're going things a different way." And you got just like our profession. You just gotta groove
yep,
with it. You gotta let it
yep,
happen because the more you try to control, usually the more it resists. So you just gotta let life. I'm not saying
yeah,
not to have aspirations and goals because I'm very goal oriented and have high aspirations, but you can't control every little thing. So try to enjoy the process when you can too.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, life, this job, every day you get thrown curveballs, and you gotta adjust. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, as far as crazy stories or
Yeah. You
um,
got to drop me one. You've
I
been on
gotta
a ton
think.
of
I gotta think of
removals,
one.
prep room. All right, let's go.
I gotta think of one. I mean, there's a million. I just gotta tiptoe around how I gotta tell them.
Don't be shy. We got funeral directors on here.
Definitely
They,
not
they, they,
shy.
they don't care. They don't care.
Definitely not shy. Oh man. Well, I have one story. So have you ever seen the movie The Hangover? Hangover
Of
3.
course. Of
The very
course.
beginning, I think it's Hangover 3, where Alan's dad passes away,
Okay.
and Alan jumps in the grave. There's a scene where Alan's at his dad's funeral,
I don't
and
I don't know if I saw the third one. I definitely saw the second. I don't
there's a
know if I saw
scene
the third.
there's
Okay.
a scene in the third one where it opens up where Alan, one of the main characters, his dad passes away,
Yep. I
and
remember. Mhm.
his they're at the funeral, they're at a graveside service, and Alan takes his shirt off and starts digging his dad's grave, starts putting dirt on the grave. We had
Okay.
a gentleman. We had a gentleman. We were at a graveside service, just wrapped up. Families
Yep.
kind of getting to their cars, making their way to their luncheon, and everyone, we'll just say his name's Joe for the sake of the story. Everyone said,
Okay.
"Where's Joe? Where's Joe?" We can't find Joe. We can't leave without Joe. He got the luncheon together. Where is he? Somehow, some way, he got the cemetery guys to agree to let him start digging, start throwing dirt on his wife's grave.
Oh
Sure
no.
enough, he was, and there's no way that he was allowed to do this, has to be a safety issue. He was in his wife's grave on top of the casket, kind of shoveling
No.
dirt on top of the casket
In the grave.
in the grave. It was like a
Oh,
90 degree, it was like a 90-degree June day, and he was in
sweating the
there.
storm.
Yeah, he actually had his shirt tied around his head. Or I'm sorry, it was his tie. He had his tie tied around his head, shirt unbuttoned, digging it, and he said, so and so would love this. I always said if she went before me, I was doing it. And yeah, so he kind of pulled an Allen from The Hangover, and he jumped right in, no hesitation.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that's
What a
one of
sight.
many.
What a sight. What did the
Yep.
cemetery workers do? Did they
They
just
they
look the other
they
way?
yeah, they kind of looked the other way. They kind of laughed about it.
Yeah.
We as funeral directors, we said, "Hey, we're out of here. We did our job. We
Once
did
that
our
once
job."
that little bit of, I always say once that dirt, is hitting that casket, I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm good to go. I'm ready. Like
Yep.
that's my job. It's been complete right there.
Yep.
Oh
We
gosh, that is
real
freaking crazy though.
real quick, another one down at our other funeral home. We had a
Uh-huh.
service inside the funeral home. This was kind of right after the COVID, the height of the
Yeah,
COVID, where things
sure.
started to loosen up a little bit, and I made my announcement that concluded the services. You know, friends and extended relatives could step forward, pay their respects. The immediate family will stay back last, and I'm standing up
Yeah.
next to the casket, and it was a sister or an aunt of the deceased. She just started kind of smacking the deceased, telling him to wake up, telling him to, you know, quit playing with everybody, quit, wake up. She's smacking him on his chest, telling him to wake up for a solid 45 seconds, which felt like 2 hours. And I'm just standing there. I have no idea what to do, but she's yelling his name, screaming his name, telling him to wake up. And it took like an hour. It took like an hour to get her out of the funeral home.
Oh,
and
I can only imagine.
and
Is the
everyone.
family trying to help, or what? Was she they're just letting
So
her fly off.
she is family, but they were a
Okay,
very emotional family, a very theatric family.
sure.
They kind of just joined in, and they just they really couldn't accept the fact that he was gone. But
And I
I'm
imagine
talking
they
smack him in his.
eventually
Yeah.
I imagine they eventually were like, "Okay, this is real."
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was something you know I've never seen
And
before, and
you're probably like, "Hey, I took care of him. I embalmed him.
yeah, trust
He's
me, he
gone. He's
unfortunately
gone."
he's gone. He's not waking up. He's not getting up. So yeah, but like I said, every day
Crazy.
I'm sure if one of us wrote a book, we would
Oh,
have
yeah.
stories on stories on stories, and you
No
see something
doubt.
new every day. You really do.
Like, that would be like a one day thing that I should do is compile all the stories from everyone that came on the show and just like release a book. It would be entertaining, that is for sure, and unbelievable. Like, you just shared two stories that I
Hmm.
haven't heard anyone really really go
Yeah.
down anything quite like that. And
Hmm.
everyone's got a couple of those stories, those party stories, I like to call them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we've seen it to where people try to have it like a tailgate out in the parking lot, or
Oh yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
you kind of have to shut that down. Just safety issues and everything. We've seen people trying to tailgate. We have
Hmm.
seen at a visitation. It was an urn visitation, and the family wanted these little vials of cremated remains handed out
Sure.
to guests as almost like a party favor. So as they left, they got little vials of cremated remains, and that was the
Bizarre.
deceased wishes. Yes, yes, and we almost had to shut that down
That's
too.
weird.
But yeah, it's you wouldn't believe some
Huh.
of the stuff that I tell you.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like a logistical nightmare
yeah,
right
and they're
there.
just
That does not sound good.
there wasn't much left of the deceased to go back to the family, and that's what she
I'm
wanted.
sure.
She said, "I want a part of me to go with my friends and my family." So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. I mean, yeah.
part of our job is personalizing a service and accommodating
Yeah.
families, but there comes a fine line you can't really cross. But
Right.
we did it. They were happy, and they kind of sang our praises. So
Well, hey, that's end of the day, you made sure that their wishes were carried out, and
yeah,
if the family's happy with you, then what else could you really ask for in that
yep,
circumstance?
yeah,
Well, Josh,
hmm,
this has been such a good time. I really love your mentality with all this stuff, where we share a lot of the same philosophies, and you got your stories, and hope you guys are, keep doing what you're doing with your locations, and the third location. Hopefully, it continues to ramp up, and you do
yeah,
some justice to the guy who used to owned it. And just love what you're doing. Keep up the good work, and good luck with your 4 month old. That'll be a fun year for you guys, I hope.
yeah, yeah. He's the man. He's definitely he was life changing, and
Yeah.
I have a very good significant other who she understands the
Yeah.
business. She's very patient. You know,
Nice.
she's very supportive. But
That's
I
all
want
you
to
can ask for.
thank you
Oh,
again for
come on.
answering my messages and inviting me on. And I would want to jump back on here in a second if you were willing to have me. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure we could talk for hours about certain
I
things
know.
in the
I
business,
know.
and ways it's changing, and just everything that involves it. I'd love to come back on if you're willing to have me.
Absolutely.
So
We'd love to have you. And that's why we do this stuff, is because I know we all are so opinionated, and we all have an idea of uh, what the future might look like, and what times are going through right now as funeral directors. And you can only really talk about that with other funeral directors, because other people
exactly,
don't really understand. So that's the fun part about getting to do this stuff, and creating that community of morticians out there. It really does make a difference in the day-to-day lives of everyone.
totally agree. I think
Yeah,
we're a special group, and like you said,
we are.
we all share a lot of the same experiences, and to know that there's people out there that experience what you do, and it's comforting. And
Yeah.
I think we're a special group, and being able to have a platform and to express ourselves and talk about what we see on a daily basis is definitely needed. I think it's a good thing you guys are doing.
Sure is. Sure is. Thank you. Thank